customers who will have bought a product from Cisco called Cisco TMS. And I like to compare the product to being a Formula One engine. And keep track on this one, it will hopefully make sense. But this Formula engine is incredibly powerful. And essentially, what we are here at VQ is that wrap around to that Formula One engine. So we have a chassis, we have a steering wheel, we have a brakes, we have accelerator. We are essentially here to make sure that our customers can get the most out of Cisco TMS. That leads to a few use cases as to why the customer would have bought Cisco TMS in the first place, and I'll touch on a few there. So the first one is customers who want to make use of CMS for a self-serve purpose. And what self-serve means is that individuals within an organization are trying to schedule their own meetings and manage their own meetings, self-serve. And so the first problem one could argue here is that it's really key for users to have a easy and streamlined experience to achieve that, or else they're not going to use the technology. So what we do here is through the use of a plugin or an add-in or even a VQ Metro app, which we recently released, we make it really easy for users to schedule and manage their own meetings, so ease of use. And so the first problem I would say there is that we essentially allow our customers to deliver and propagate the technology within the organization. The second use case / problem is this need for delivering a white glove service, where some users and some types of meetings, should I say, require a very specific set of configuration against that meeting. So it may be that, let's say, you're allowed to share some content, but I am not. And you may want to see Annabelle, but not may want to see me. So we need to have all of this pre-configured before the meeting takes place so that someone can oversee this meeting, make sure it's correctly configured, and step in if needed. So that's what we describe as being this operator white glove service. So there we allow tons of functionality to deliver this use case, which actually can be incredibly complex, and it can be achieved out of CMS out of the box, but it requires a lot of knowledge. It's very time consuming, so we make it simple and easy essentially. Now, in addition, customers often want to be able to troubleshoot calls. So they won't say, hey, I saw that Richard's quality of the video wasn't great and I couldn't hear Annabelle very well. Well, VQ Conference Manager allows us to understand why this may have happened, so we can troubleshoot and therefore, again, resolve a problem that customers have. And lastly, and actually maybe another two cases, analytics is very, very key. So customers invest sometimes millions of pounds into the technology, and they want to ensure there's a correct adoption of it, that users are actually using it. They want to make sure that the money is being well spent. So we provide analytics there to make sure we can actually understand how much utilization is taking place. So we make it easy, importantly. You can receive a report in your inbox and it's actually showing how many people have used it more compared to last week. The other problem I would say is really a problem which is growing more and more in this industry, is that it's a nice problem to have for sure, but there's more and more requirements for video room systems in meeting rooms. The cost has gone down in most cases for most video systems, and so there's a lot more out there. And that brings a problem for engineers who need to manage these video devices, because they don't just manage themselves, these systems, they need to be looked after. So what it means is that we are able to, through VQ&A, deploy these systems, update their systems, make sure they're working and that they're working correctly. So that, I would say, is probably the next use case, the next problem we help to overcome through our set of solutions of VQ Conference Manager. And so first point is, as part of any new customer who buys VQ, we have an onboarding call. So again, linked to my role, someone buys VQ, they're not on their own. We are here to ensure the customer success team that they're going to get engagement throughout the duration of their contract and relationship with us. So the onboarding call essentially allows us to go through a few things. The first one, it may sound really obvious, but actually understanding, being really, really clear what the end goal is. I'll start with the end goal in mind is the first thing I think someone told me when I started my career in this industry is, what are we trying to achieve? What are we trying to get to? So understanding that is actually crucial as part of this first call. Absolutely crucial. And sometimes one actually discovered as part of this first call that actually customers want to achieve something, but they hadn't realized they can actually achieve even more. This first call is usually really exciting because there's lots of back and forth in terms of what is wanting to be achieved and what can be achieved and not actually having thought of. And also as part of this onboarding call, we go through ensuring customers know where to get key information. And again, part of this onboarding call, we go through prerequisites, making sure that the technical engineers who will be involved in actually installing the solution know what they need to do. We'll go through things like server specs, ensuring they have a right FQDN set up, and all sorts of other prerequisites which are needed. So to make sure they've got the right foundation so that on the day of actual installation, everything goes as smoothly as it possibly can. And once we've done this, we really leave it to either our integrators. We've got a network of partners who are very skilled, who really know what they're doing when it comes to VQ, who will help the partner with installation or configuring side of things, or sometimes actually may want to use our VQ Deployment Assist package, where we help them throughout the journey of getting the solution installed and configured. We've done, I think, almost close to 150 to 200 installations over the last 5 years or so. So we've got tons of experience to ensure things go smooth. If we prepare accurately during that onboarding call, the risk of things going wrong are quite minimal. Again, a quote I was given when I first started this industry, I think, fail to prepare, prepare to fail. So I think as part of this first call, we look and make sure things are going to go smoothly. So truthfully, we don't see a lot of issues taking place as part of a deployment, to be quite honest with you. I think some of the challenges sometimes can be more around timescale, the availability of people which are needed. So to install VQ Conference Manager, you have to set up some FQDNs. And that may mean that the engineer is going to install VQ, needs to speak to the network team. The network guy may be on holiday for a month or so. So these are kind of actually more of the challenges we tend to face. It's more of the availability of the different people which are required to make things happen, to all be there and synced is actually probably the bigger challenge that we face. But we are quite prescriptive with our approach, as I said earlier, to make sure customers know what is expected from them, what we are going to do, and how we are going to do it to make sure things go smoothly. The first thing to maybe add a bit of context to those who may not know about Cisco TMS and VQ&A. Cisco TMS is a product which was announced as going end of sale and end of life in August 2023 by Cisco. We've worked with Cisco for about 3 years to ensure that when the decision was finally made, that we were ready to be able to replace TMS, but also bring some additional enhancement to what it delivered. And so VQ&A is a product that we have made available, I think, at the middle of last year / early part of last year. So it's not a new product, but what I would say is that it brings a similar level of capability to Cisco TMS. It stands for Device Management and Automation, and essentially it's an end-to-end solution to deploy your video endpoints, to configure your video endpoints, and to be able to look at maintaining them and checking that they are working as they should. So really end-to-end from that perspective. We don't want, or customers don't want to have to manually do these sort of things. If they have got dozens and hundreds of devices, they need to bring elements of automation to these video devices in terms of deployments, config, and maintenance. So that's VQ&A really, essentially. And if I may add, in terms of how it's been received by customers, I mean, they love it, because some of the things we have worked on delivering DMA has, as I said just now, brought some additional functions. So we bring the ability to have labeling in your phone book. It may sound really minor, but if you've got hundreds of devices, having the ability to search and to filter by a label to say, I want to just find a VIP devices in my phone book, and I only want to have a VIP devices to receive this phone book. It's a lot easier than just making use of a hierarchy and filtering, which was available in TMS, which would be through location or names or type of devices. So it brings a lot of ease of use, saves time, and I think the other big enhancement we make, which customer have really appreciated, was around the configuration of the devices. So Cisco TMS does it in a certain way, which is great, but we bring this concept of module, where essentially your templates can be grouped against modules, which means that you can have a lot less changes to be done to your config by making use of that module concept versus changing each template one at a time. And it's quite difficult to articulate. It's something which sometimes needs to be seen, to be grasped, but it brings often a big smile on some of the engineers' face who've seen the capability, because they think, Christ, I've been spending hours and hours doing this small change to a config. Now I'm going to have to be able to just do it once, and it's going to push out to all these different templates.
So quite often I'm involved in customer conversations, typically with Joel actually, so it makes us work quite closely together, or separately, or even if during conference meetings. That's typically when we get sort of UI input. But because of the nature of our customers and the fact that it's very mission critical, we can't necessarily do what would be a traditional UX process experience of doing usability testing, because obviously their situations are very much on premise. So the next best thing is getting onto calls with customers and basically showing them designs and going through the concept of the feature that we're developing, talking around the subject area and finding those particular use cases that they would find the feature useful to fix or to help with their management. Other feedback channels include email correspondence and feeding through from other team members as well. Customer success typically feeds back onto things that we want to improve on. I typically hear back through other engineers as well. So there's various channels, and it's about consolidating all of that as well, because it's important to distinguish features that we want to develop and improve on UI design if it's worth doing, and that will help the mass customer audience as opposed to individual customers at large. So yeah, it's a balancing act, various ways in which we get that kind of feedback. And hopefully once it's consolidated and we've gone through that, then we can sort of improve things a lot more.
VQ&A, and that's a perfect example of a product and a set of features which we have worked on the basis of getting customer feedback. So VQ&A was essentially three parties which delivered it. Really, it's Cisco giving us some insights on Cisco TMS and how it operated. It was our own secret source of what the engineers thought would be worthwhile adding to enhance TMS. There was, importantly, customers telling us it'd be great if you could do this. We've been waiting for TMS to do this for years. It'd be great if you could do X, Y, and Z. So VQ&A is a perfect example of getting customer feedback of what they wanted to see. And TMS, as I said, have been around for a while, but DMA, the version we are on today, is going to keep getting enhanced and getting better and better and better on the back of listening to our customers. Another example I would say that is version 4.3, which is our latest version here at VQ Performance Manager. Version 4.3 has actually been built almost single-handedly on the back of discussion with customers and what they wanted to see included in that release. So you look at functionality such as the call builder, the focus view, shared space. These are key functionality for an operator environment, which are incredibly positive for users to make use of. Much more productivity, tons of benefits in these functionalities. And this is, as I said, driven by customer feedback. So 4.3, perfect example of a set of customers who said, we love you if you could do X, Y, and Z, and we did. And the same goes, I think, for native language support, which we discussed earlier, Annabelle and I, around this importance of customers wanting to have the interface in whatever language. That was us now having listened and addressing that.
Yeah, that one in particular with not only the native language support, but the ability for the speaker to see an interpreter or listen to an interpreter. Well, depends on whether they need a sign language interpreter or multiple streams of conversations that need to occur all at the same time. That's something that Metro does and is going to do very well, which means that, you know, there's certainly longevity in the product, further enhancements, further improvements, and further new features that would, again, make something like Metro integrated into Teams as well a more well-rounded product, and certainly something that's unique on the market as well. I'm involved in what would we class as an architecture and design session, which happens every Monday and every Wednesday. We go through the roadmap, we go through upcoming features that we want to work on, any bugs that need fixing. That's not typically something that I tend to get involved in, but any new concepts that are coming around the corner on said roadmap, that is very much a way that I can collaborate with not only the engineering team, but also the product manager. Sometimes we'll get show and tells as well, where something is being developed, we'll discuss it, see if there's any ways to improve it, see if there's anything that we've missed out during that ideation stage. And then once we've sort of got a rough understanding of what we want to achieve, then I'll put a design together, discuss it with the engineering team who will be implementing said designs. And that is very much a collaborative process that is constantly ongoing streams of communication, either on the design or I'll demonstrate what I'm trying to achieve. We'll have a look at some components that we want to use and include in those designs. What also is very helpful is that the outer team, sort of sweat sales or even our marketing team, have very kindly suggested that I can test designs on them as well. So that's various ways in which I can get feedback to kind of gauge whether I'm in the right direction, in the right ballpark in terms of the user experience for a particular design, or if I need to sort of rethink it and scrap it and go do something else instead. And the lovely thing about working with VQ is everyone is always happy to chip in. It's never a singular channel in which you're working. It is very much a team and a collaborative effort on all fronts.
Annabelle and I, we work very, very closely. I think the work we do together goes hand in hand. If our customers are happy, we are happy. It's as straightforward and as simple as that, quite frankly. And if a customer or a set of customers is asking for features, and so when we talk to customers, and I talk to customers sometimes a few times in a week, or some I speak to once a week, some I speak to once a month, some once a quarter. But for those who give feedback, it's very often the case that if a few give a feedback, then actually we often find actually there was a dozen more which were actually interested. We're just in discussing with them for whatever reason, but a lot of the releases we make and the feedback we get extends to other customers benefiting from it. And it's feedback which is invaluable for us to be able to actually keep making enhancement by listening to the customer, listening to the driver of that car.
Just to add to that, I think the other thing as well, once we receive that feedback from the customer, it doesn't sort of fall to the wayside. We bring it back to the product team to discuss and deliberate and almost decide not only would the existing customer who requested it in the first place benefit from that, but also how that could also spread to other customers who could potentially find that beneficial as well. So we're very much not specific to the customer request. It's for the greater good of the product itself and for the further development of it, which ultimately enhances and creates a more well-rounded product for all. It's supposed to, I suppose I could describe it as a Swiss Army knife. It works for everybody. It doesn't matter whether you're self-service or concierge.
First of all, the Cisco relationship, and I can only speak about it from the last year and from what I've seen, but obviously I've had some feedback from other individuals. But I think it's a very, very strong relationship. It's a very strong partnership. We are very strongly aligned to Cisco's strategy. And I think this is proven by the huge growth that we have had as a business here at VQ. We have doubled our numbers in the last 12 months. We've gone from being a Solution Plus partner 3 years ago to now being in the top 3 largest Solution Plus partner in Cisco's partner program. And the numbers speak for themselves, I would say. Now, we work with a Cisco team very well at different level within the organization. So different people speak to different individuals. So Annabelle speaks to different people. Jonathan English, our head of product, speaks to different people, but we speak to different levels. So to give you an example there in terms of how we work with Cisco, we attend Cisco Live. We were there in Amsterdam, Annabelle and I, not long ago. We'll be yet again in the one in the US in June, Cisco Live US June for Las Vegas. For anyone who's listening, we'll be there yet again this year. And we attend and we travel quite a bit here at VQ. So we met with Cisco team in Saudi back in October. We've had a few calls with some of the Cisco French team of late, some of the German team, and pretty much across the globe, quite frankly, in terms of who we speak to in terms of net new opportunities and existing customers. So we speak to different layers within Cisco. We again work very closely with VQ TMS as an example of a product we work with Cisco on. But also, if you look at releases that Cisco make around Cisco TMS, which is a key component, as I mentioned, in terms of how we work with Cisco, they are releasing CMS version 3.8, 3.9, and so on and so on. Every time a new release is made, we look at it as soon as it comes out. We actually already know most of the time what's going to come out of it because we have inside knowledge, and we look at what we can pick from this. Oh, this feature, we can bring this and make it easier for users to make use of. So very, very close relationship, and like I said, from a technical perspective and also from a commercial perspective.
I think just to add to that, and in particular what Joel mentioned about viewing the CMS new releases and ensuring that we also incorporate them into our software, because we know that customers request those things, and therefore it's imperative that we also include them in ours to ensure that they are not losing any functionality as time goes on. We want to ensure that they can use that. Another example of that is Room OS, which the Cisco devices use as well, and whenever there's any new command lines that need to be included to update devices, we certainly ensure that we can try and include that.
I mean, we were actually in Cisco Live, Annabelle and I, in Amsterdam a couple of weeks ago, and it was really interesting because we did actually get a lot of suggestions from customers and prospects during that event. It was great, but I think one of them is really quite interesting. I think it shows the speed at which the company is growing here at VQ, because we are now moving into more and more new markets. So maybe historically we tend to maybe work with maybe more English speaking type of countries, but now there's more and more of an expectation, I think, and it has always been in some countries, to have the interface to be in the native language. I can say this myself, being French, but if being a French speaker, I would rather have interface in French because I like French. I expect it to be in French, really. So these are works that we are doing in terms of backend to ensure that the platform can be used by French speakers, German speakers, and many other languages, Arabic being one of them. And we've got, I think, almost a dozen other languages which we're working on to be enabling the interface to be read and for it to be used, the solution to be used by people in different countries across the globe. Other trends, and one is I thought was really interesting, which is more of a use case that customers are asking a lot more about of late, since we've been talking to them about the Metro app, is the one around interpretation, sign language, translation, where it's obviously something which is important in any country, in any organization. I mean, the US, they have got Section 508 of a 1998 amendment for Rehabilitation Act for people maybe hard of hearing. So our solution can cater these use cases. If you need to translate and you've got maybe multiple people in one room and they need to talk in French and German and Chinese, whatever language it is, then we can actually deliver that use case. And that's been asked quite a lot of late. Maybe another one which jumps to mind in terms of a use case is ensuring that we could deliver firmware to the video devices that the customers are using, as well as enabling branding for these video devices, which is something actually we're going to be able to deliver in version 4.4 of VQ Conference Manager. So we heard loud and clear the feedback from customers and addressing this in 4.4 with new enhancements to VQ TMS. So I think these are the trends I can think of top of my head there.
I would definitely agree with that. Language interpretation seems to be quite a key one, especially because our customer base is very international, and quite rightly so, really. We want to ensure that our product is accessible to all walks of life, and it doesn't matter what sector that you're in. Integrating Metro into Teams, that is a massive feat that the team have already developed and are very keen to work on and get their teeth stuck into using, which is a very exciting prospect. Particularly, the language interpretation would be, I'd say, is key one for our international customer base, for sure.
And actually, Annabelle, you remind me that this one about Metro for Teams, I think, is a really, really good one, and one that we spoke again a lot to customers about recently. I think just to elaborate on this one, it's instances where customers are using Teams for whatever reason within their organizations, but want to keep the quality that Cisco delivers through the technology and want to ensure the code goes smoothly with the best possible video and audio quality, whilst being able to route the calls through their own network. Then that's essentially what Metro for Teams can allow, and to essentially make use of all the greatness that Cisco delivers by extending the use of Metro to deliver that.